It's the most wonderful time of the year.
What's up, weirdos? Welcome back to my channel. My name's Felicia, and today we're going to be talking about a movie that just came out at the end of August, Boarding School.
I run an exclusive school, especially designed for unique young people like yourself. At first, it may take a little adjustment, but you will find the peace and quiet refresh the mind, as well as the spirit. Like they say in the good book, only in the wilderness is man made pure again. I think you'll fit just fine.
So I assumed this movie was going to come out into a lot of theaters. The promotion for the film was pretty good, but it was not playing anywhere near me, which is shocking because I live in New York, and so we usually get like a lot of the smaller independent films, but nope. So it only played in a few select theaters in the US and then pretty much went directly to a few streaming services, so I watched it on Amazon Prime. Anyways. It stars Luke Perrell as Jacob and Sterling Journis as Christine, who you also might know from The Conjuring. She plays the Warren's daughter. And it's basically about how Jacob gets sent to this boarding school and he thinks it's like a normal, you know, boarding school situation. And when he gets there, something is clearly wrong. There is only 6 students and 1 teacher. And the rest of the film is basically a fight between students and teacher, and you gotta fight to get out alive. Got to get out of here. Some things I liked about the film. I thought the acting was pretty solid, actually. I especially was impressed with Sterling Journis because she really freaked me out in the role of Christine. And the rest of the kids did a pretty good job too. The only complaint I have about the acting is the Jacob Brooklyn accent. It just was sort of a lot. I also thought the concept for this movie was pretty cool, and I hadn't really seen anything like it before. I can get into that a little bit more in the spoilers, but overall I thought it was a really original idea. Now the things I didn't like, the World War II flashbacks. I was like, what are these for? Why are these here? I didn't feel like it was furthering the story. I just thought it was sort of confusing, and like, yes, it sort of produced some of the more tense moments of the movie, but I was like, what does this have to do with Jacob? And I guess it was like about his grandmother, but I was like, is this helping the story? I don't think so. I was also a little confused by like which time period this was set in, and I think honestly it was like the Jacob accent thing that threw me off. I live in Brooklyn, and it just, his accent is thick, like not today's standards. And the last thing that I didn't really love is just, it was a little slow. I felt like it didn't really hold my attention well. The first like 2/3 of the movie, I was like, oh, this is sort of like feeling like a drama, but not enough. There wasn't enough tension to really hold on to me, so I got to that last third feeling really excited. It was just sort of like, okay, when is something cool gonna happen? Also the burn makeup, good little actor, bad makeup application. I was just like, come on, this is not good. Now let's get to some ratings. So for the scare, I'm giving it a 2. I didn't really think it was that scary. If you're a kid, the concept of this movie might freak you out, but overall I wasn't that freaked out by it. The gore also gets a 2. There are a lot of deaths in this movie, but only a couple that are, you know, bloody and gory-ish. The cheese gets a 1. Not really that cheesy. Wow, these ratings are really sad. And then I am presenting today a new rating category. So a few of you asked me for this, and I was like, okay, great. But I didn't know what to call it, and I still don't really know what to call it. So if you have any ideas, let me know. Right now, I'm just gonna call it the overall rating. So like, did I like this movie? So it's still gonna be out of 5, like the rest of the ratings are. A 1 is like, don't bother watching it, it's terrible, I hated it. And 5 is like, buy the movie, buy the t-shirt, this is your life now, I love it kind of thing. So for my first overall rating, this gets a 3. I was way more excited for this movie than I was while I was actually watching it, but in many ways it's still a pretty interesting film. I just didn't think it was that well executed. So it gets a 3, which is basically a meh. Now let's move on to some spoilers. So for a little context, it's basically that parents send their kids to this boarding school to die. If the parents can't seem to handle the kids anymore, they send them there and they pay the people to kill their kids. One of my favorite images was definitely Jacob wearing his dead grandmother's dress and just looking incredible, and watching the boarding school just burn to the ground. That image was so great. Another scene I really liked was between Jacob and Christine. So Christine is sort of there because she killed her brother and she tends to have murder tendencies. And so they're like dancing, they're like doing a waltz, and it's like very, very beautiful. And then like out of nowhere, she like grabs a pair of scissors and she like goes to stab him and he grabs her arm. And it's just these two little kids. And so like this like contrast between these two kids doing this very like adult old person waltz while she's about to kill him by accident because she can't help herself. Like, it's a lot, and it was a really cool scene. I liked it a lot. There's actually a tie for my favorite death scene, and one, like the most like fun one I'll say, was when Dr. Sherman slices Mrs. Sherman's throat and he sort of pulls her like shirt over her head so it doesn't like get messy everywhere. Overall, like that death I thought was pretty good, but the death that I found the most satisfying is at the end of the movie when Jacob kills his stepfather with the techniques that he learned at his death boarding school. And the stepfather was the one that initially sent him there in the first place, so it's sort of like this nice revenge moment, and I liked it. So overall, I didn't hate this movie. I actually kind of enjoyed watching it, but I didn't really feel like it fully held my attention from start to finish, and so in some ways it was sort of meh, but the ideas and the characters are really, really cool. And that's it, guys. That's my thoughts on boarding school. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe. I put out new videos every Sunday and Wednesday, and have a nice screen. Bye!